Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jay Snow. Today I'm going to be making a tier list of every single Fortnite map in history. That doesn't just include Battle Royale, it includes every single mode that Epic Games has released in the Battle Royale format. So Reload, Blitz, just those two really are also going to be included here. But I kind of just wanted an excuse to talk about Fortnite because I really like Fortnite. So let's get us started because this is going to be a really long video. First map that we have is the Chapter 1 Season 1 map. Now, I want to set this precedent early, right? I am not looking at anything other than the map, right? So I'm not talking about anything season related, anything gameplay related, any nostalgia, just the map. And if we were taken there today, would it still be a good map to play on? Now, the season 1 map, it was the first map, right? But as I just stated, I'm not going to give it any leeway just because it was the first map and there's nostalgia. Now, if you look at this map, I'm going to pull it up on the screen. The left side of the map is just empty. Like, I understand when they made this game, they didn't understand how big it was going to be, but this map it's just very boring. Now, the Chapter 1 map, as we'll come to see later on as I go through the maps, was really good at designing locations that weren't named locations to be like valid drop spots that you could also go to. So it gets bonus points for that, but the Season 1 map, in my opinion, I don't know. It's either a low B or high C. For now, I'm gonna keep it B tier so I can keep some viewers at the moment since it's just the first map. But let's go on to Season 2, where if you'll notice on this map, they really took into account what I had said. The left side of the map was empty. There was nothing there. And they added so much diversity on this map, so much more color, so much more places to land that weren't just empty POIs that weren't named. So this map was a great step up, and Season 2 was honestly one of the best map updates we've ever had. One of the things I want to get out of the way now as well, as you'll see down here, every single map that we're looking at today is going to be the final version of that season. So if you look down here at Chapter 2 Season 8, which we'll get to eventually, it's the map that's entirely covered in orange instead of the launch of it, because I feel like the end of the season is sort of like where you want to look for where everything happened. You know, everything's already on the map, you don't have to worry about anything else. So yeah, Season 2, this update, by the way, happened in the middle of the season, but instead of just at the beginning. So I'm not going to look at the season, like I said. The map itself is really good, and is probably the map that a lot of people look back on most fondly. However, there still are parts that are kind of boring on this map. Moisty Mire is still here, Loot Lake is still the boring version of Loot Lake, Anarchy Acres is literally a copy of Fatal Fields, and Wailing Woods just doesn't really have anything other than trees. So I'm going to put this one in A tier, because it was a really good upgrade from the Season 1 map, but it's still not quite to the standard that we're expecting today. Now, Season 3, right, is the exact same map. A lot of people love Season 3 and look back on it fondly because of nostalgia. The only thing they changed in Season 3 was adding Lucky Landing, right? And it pains me to put Season 3 better than Season 2. I just have to look in and make sure I have the right one. Yeah, so Season 3 is slightly better than Season 2, just because it's like an upgrade from it. But the Season 3 map is quite literally identical to Season 2, only with Lucky Landing at the bottom instead. Now, Season 4 came with a couple decent changes to the map. Dusty Depot was turned into Dusty Divot, as we're all aware. We also got Risky Reels, a meteor through the prison, and also a building in Tilted. But I do think all of these are net positives. Dusty Divot just is better Wailing Woods, honestly. As the season goes on, there's more grass in the middle, more trees and stuff. And it's at the center of the map, so you don't have to land super far away to get mats and stuff. But I do think Season 4 is also an upgrade from Season 2, 3, and 2 and 3 so far. So Season 4 is going in a tier above those. Season 5 as well, kind of on the same thing. It's just an upgrade to the map that we already have. Now we have the desert biome at the bottom right, and honestly, one of the best additions to any map ever. This desert biome was incredible. Paradise Palms becomes one of the best places to land on the Chapter 1 map, probably like second place to Tilted Towers in my opinion. And then there's also the little town in the desert that eventually becomes Adobe Abodes on the Oasis reload map that we'll talk about eventually. But both of those were incredible and definitely a step up from Season 4. Now what I'm thinking is this map is really, really good and close to S tier, but I don't think it becomes S tier yet because we still have Wailing Woods, we still have Boring Loot Lake. There's still a couple places on this map that aren't incredible. So I'm looking for something more, and that's what we get with Season 6, if I can find it. Season 6 didn't really change the map a whole lot, but Loot Lake becomes a great POI now. I could write a whole video essay on Loot Lake. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do it. But Loot Lake is so well designed after the Cube Explosion event, the Butterfly event. It becomes a great place to land, so much loot, and just so much more interesting than the water mechanics that don't really work in Chapter 1 yet. So I think this is even better. This might be S tier. But keep in mind, we still have Wailing Woods. We still have Flush Factory on this map. Nobody lands at either one of those places. I think this is very, very, very close to S tier. But Season 7, if I can find that one. Which one is Season 7? This one. Yes. Sorry, they're out of order. Season 7, I think, definitely breaks into S tier territory. The whole ice biome was so good. Polar Peak at the end of the life cycle of Season 7, like fully exposed. There's so much loot there. And then there's also Frosty Flights with the plains. Frosty Flights was a great POI in itself, even if you remove the plains like they did in the OG season. Was Frosty Flights in the OG season? I don't know. Someone fact check me on that. But Season 7, incredible map. We also have the Yonder Yard, I believe people called it, at the bottom left of the map, the new factories down there. Incredible drop spot, not even a named POI. I think everywhere in the snow biome just becomes a classic Fortnite location, and then also improves like the ambience in Tilted Towers just to have the snow at the bottom. I think it's great. And then along with that, I do think that Season 8 is yet again better than Season 7. Also an S tier map. You know how I've been saying Wailing Woods is still in the map in the last few? Well, this one gets rid of Wailing Woods in favor of the Volcano Lazy Lagoon, which is an incredible POI. I've landed there so many times back in the day. Sunny Steps, also really good. The only thing in this biome that's like kind of weird is like the little like oil spill fields, the hot spring thing. I don't really know what that's supposed to be. I mean, it's interesting to have on the map, but it kind of just stands out like a sore thumb. So I don't think this is a perfect map or anything, but I think it's a really good upgrade. And Season 9, which one is Season 9? Oh, it's this one. Once again, out of order. Season 9. Now, a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this one, but this is my channel. I can have my own opinion, right? I think Season 9 is once again an upgrade. Neo Tilted might not be better than Tilted Towers was, but I just think the aesthetic of it looks better, and I really liked landing it Neo Tilted. The wind tunnels across the map were great. I also think Mega Mall is an upgrade on Retail Row. So everything that they like changed and added in Season 9, as well as pressure plant. Is that what it was called? The new upgraded volcano. I landed there so much back in the day. Season 9. I try not to get nostalgia get in the way of it, but I do think everything on the season 9 map upgraded from season 8. Now, the first place we get to where things necessarily weren't an upgrade, we get to Season X. Now, this map was very interesting. They made some very controversial and interesting changes this season. It was a fun season to play, but again, we're not looking at the seasons. We're looking at the map here. And can I just say, what in the world is going on? Retail Row has zombies. Interesting, but we got rid of Mega Mall for that. And then we also have Tilted Towers, depending on where we're looking at. I believe the end of the season had Tilted Sound, which was an interesting concept. And I really liked it before we added Zero Build into the game. But Tilted Town is nowhere near as good as Tilted Towers was. And then there's also Greasy Grove back with the Taco Time. But it just doesn't look good in the snow biome. I understand they had to put it there, but couldn't they have just left the snow there as well? I don't know. And then there's also Moisty Palms. Like, it's just not a good POI. Now, it is still foundationally a good map. As you can see, the last 3 seasons have set that precedent. But I also think that Season 3 and 4 had a better map just because it looked good, and there weren't random gameplay mechanics that messed up the map flow. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to put this in the A tier. Now, where I put it in here is a good question. I think it's probably better than Season 2 and 3. Maybe better than Season 4, but the desert biome is still there. So I do think the regular desert biome is better than Moisty Palms. But that is the entirety of Chapter 1 done. Alright, moving into Chapter 2, we have a really solid Season 1 map. I think they really understood that the Season 1 map of Chapter 1 was just kind of really boring, so they kind of stepped it up here, but also there's still just not a lot to this map. Like, so much of it is just grass and more grass and yellow grass and darker green grass. It's just kind of boring, and also the top left of the map is just kind of empty past Sweaty Sands. So I do think this is better than the Season 1 map of Chapter 1, but I also don't think it's a very good map to begin with. So Season 2, though, was quite the upgrade from the Season 1 map. Obviously, everything's going to be adding to the Season 1 map. They're not going to get rid of anything. But I think this season gets, overglazed by nostalgia, I think. Because if you look at the additions to it, they did address the top left of the map being kind of empty. But it's still just a lot of green. The overall changes didn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. They just added stuff in the corners of the maps. The agency was a really good drop, so it definitely is better, and I'm probably going to put it in A tier for that. Just for the agency and the shark being as good POIs as they were, but it didn't really change that much, honestly. Now, Season 3, more or less the exact same thing. Now, like I said, we're looking at the end of the season's map instead of the whole way through. So if we were looking at the whole way through, it was really interesting to play with all the parts flooded off. But the end result of that was just the agency being turned into a worse POI, the Authority, and Coral Castle, which isn't good. It wasn't. They didn't really change that much. I mean, the Fortilla, great POI. The yacht is still here. Caddy Corner was also good, so it is an upgrade from Season 2, just not by much, And at this point in Fortnite's life, it's been around for 2 or 3 years, no longer than that, 3.5 years maybe. because this is mid-20 or early 2020 to mid-2020. So we're expecting like bigger map changes to happen, especially through all of what we saw at the end of Chapter 1, and this just isn't really living up to that, you know? And then the same thing with Season 4. I mean, the Stark Industries stuff was cool, right? I'm not a Marvel fan, but I'm not going to let that get in the way of the map discussion because that's what we're on. Realistically, they didn't change like anything throughout the whole season until they added the Stark Industries stuff. They made the Authority even worse by destroying it with the Midas event. They made Pleasant Park. I mean, they made Pleasant Park a little bit better with whatever the Doctor Doom POI was called in Chapter 2. It was cool, but Stark Industries like heavily carries this map by like a lot. But even still, I don't know. I don't know if Stark Industries is better than Frenzy Farm. I loved Frenzy Farm, and that's another POI I feel like I could write a whole video essay on. I kind of just feel like they're one and the same to me. Because they didn't really change that much with this season, especially with the power of hindsight. We're halfway through the chapter, and we've barely got any meaningful changes, and the map is still almost entirely green. You know? I don't know. These are interchangeable for me. I'm going to put it better than Frenzy Farm just because there's more there. But I don't know if it is, especially because in Season 5, it gets removed. So Season 5, I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know if this is an upgrade or a downgrade. So we get in the middle of the map, we get the 0 Point Exposed, we get the 0 Point Desert, which doesn't work for half the season, but let's go with the end of it, assume the sand tunneling does work. The Coliseum was a pretty darn good POI, I'll give them that. The Stronghold at the top left of the map, that was an interesting POI. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was an okay addition, I suppose. Hunter's Haven, a really good addition down there. I wish it kind of stuck around longer. But the desert, I mean, it fixes the problems that the map had with being too green, but it also doesn't, you know? It's in the center of the map, which I don't... You'll come to notice that I don't really like weird biomes in the middle of the map. I don't know why. They kind of just don't end up working very well. Salty Towers was certainly an interesting POI looking back. I mean, it was fine. It was probably worse than Salty Springs. So I think this might be a downgrade from Season 4. Because, I don't know. It might be a downgrade from this as well. Just because there's not a lot going on in the desert other than the Coliseum. The middle part with the 0 Point was just way too big. But also not big enough, if you get what I'm saying. Like the desert, it was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. The only real interesting thing there was the Coliseum and the Butter Barn, of all things. So I think it was a downgrade, if you ask me. Now, next up, we have the Primal Season. And, people do not like this season, understandably so. But I do think, if you ask me, I think this is sort of, take that seriously, sort of, an upgrade from the desert, you know? Just because it fixes the problem with the green. It doesn't look bad like it does in Season 8. We'll get there in a moment. Like the orange, like fall biome, it looks pretty darn good. They changed the Coliseum to some farm POI, which actually looked pretty cool. The Spire was a really cool POI in execution. I kind of liked it. They changed the Stronghold a little bit too for the Predator collab. They didn't change too much other than the center, which again is kind of the common theme for Chapter 2. They didn't change a whole lot of that map in retrospect. I do think this is probably, so far, Bony Burbs too. I forgot about Bony Burbs. Bony Burbs was better than Salty Towers, not better than Tilted. So I do think this is probably the best iteration of the Chapter 2 map that we've seen so far. That might be controversial, I know, but I do quite like the Chapter 2 Season 6 map. Now, Chapter 2 Season 7. This map, right? This season, I loved this season, but that's not what we're talking about right now. This map pissed me off back in the day. They not only got rid of the center, which was really cool POI. They didn't build anything there. There was just a little lake. But as the season went on, the mothership went around and got rid of POIs. This is the only season in Fortnite history that we have ever seen that got rid of POIs over the course of the season instead of adding them. And it was like, what were they thinking? They got rid of the new Frenzy Farm upgrade POI that I can't remember the name of right now. They got rid of Slurpy Swamp, which was one of the best POIs in the Chapter 2 map. And then there's another one that I can't remember right now. But they got rid of so many POIs. And for that, it is like, there's a big gap between this. I might even put this in D tier, because this map made me angry when I was playing. Like, there was still some cool stuff on it, but they got rid of all of the cool biome distinction that this map needed to instead of adding anything, they got rid of stuff. I cannot believe that. It's staying in D tier. I don't care. But for the final season of Chapter 2, we have this monstrosity. It's, I don't know what they were doing at the end of Chapter 2, if I'm honest with you. It looked like they were going to destroy the whole map in that event, and then they didn't change anything. But again, going to try and keep that out of my brain. This map looks ugly. You know, that's all I can really give it. If it wasn't for Season 7 removing parts of the map, this would be the worst Chapter 2 map. But whatever, let's just go to Chapter 3. So, Chapter 3. Chapter 3 had a really darn good map for a Season 1. So, we get this map here. We get our first ever collab POI with the Daily Bugle. It was very weird that it was inside of a volcano, but I liked this. I liked this map. It did have some weak points, like the bottom left of the map. I don't really know what's going on there. Camp Cuddle was not very good. Sleepy Sound was such a good POI, though. Logjam was great. The desert, eventually... No, the desert was okay. I really liked the actual theming that this map had. I haven't really felt this in a long time until we'll get there eventually. Chapter 7. This map feels like home to me. Because of the Sanctuary, because... I don't know, the Joneses, it just feels right on the map. And then also Tilted Towers being back. I'm not going to let nostalgia get in the way, like I said. But Tilted Towers is an objectively good POI, and that's why so many people land there. And having it on this map to break up that like dull spot on the left side of the map was such a good choice. I mean, honestly, I can't think of anything better to put in that spot. So... I think this map, by far the best Season 1 map that we've seen. I think it's probably better than a lot of these. Let's see. I don't think it's better than Season 9 or Season X. I do think it's better than Season X. We'll put it there. Starting off really high for Chapter 3. It is one of the first short chapters, so I'm glad that they started off with something good. Now, Season 2 was, it was interesting. They brought in the Canyon POI at the top left, bordering the snow biome, getting rid of Camp Cuddle. I remember it being really cool, but once again, it just kind of falls under the that they did in Chapter 2 towards the end, where they made the map look ugly. Like, I understand the whole war vibe that's going on here, but there's so many, like, craters and explosions that just don't look good, and because we're ranking the maps here, I'm gonna have to put this lower. I do think it's better than the Chapter 1 map. I don't... Just by default, I think the Chapter 3 map's better than Chapter 2. But it just doesn't look great. But it still functions as a good map. Yeah, it didn't look good, but it was still a good functional map. Now, Chapter 3, Season 3 vibing. Right, you're gonna have to hear me out here. So far, this map right here, Chapter 3, Season 3, is the best map so far that we've gotten to. This map fixes the problems that I had with the last season, where I said it looked ugly. So by default, Chapter 3 Season 1 was the third best map in A tier. And they made this map look great in Season 3, in Vibin. The reality tree is an incredible POI. They haven't removed anything, like, at all, other than Camp Cuddle. They changed the Canyon POI to be like this crazy amusement park thing that looked awesome while still maintaining the parts that we loved about it. And I just think this season looked incredible and is by far the best map that we've had so far. I loved it. The weird stuff that they did with Indiana Jones was weird. I don't know what they were doing with Indiana Jones in this season with that POI, but it was still interesting. I'm glad it was on the map. The changing of Logjam was also a little weird because it would be different like every game that you went in, if I recall correctly. So that like removes points from it, but I do still think that this map is quite a bit better than the Season 8 map. Now, Season 4, unfortunately, gets rid of all of the good stuff that I really liked about this map, and it makes me really sad. So, changing the reality tree to be orange, I mean, I get it for the theming, because they were trying to make it like a fall theme thing or whatever. But it just doesn't hit the same as the reality tree did. I kind of wish it stayed. And then it suffers the same fate at the end of chapter 2, where they kind of make the map look ugly. There's chrome everywhere. They have like a flying butter barn. What is even going on there? I don't know. I think this map is the worst of chapter 3 so far. So let's see where we have it. I think it's better than the desert. Yeah, I don't think it's better than Chapter 2 Season 2. I think that's a good spot for it. Chapter 3 had the potential. We saw at the beginning. It had a great start, great Season 3, but it ended at a not so great spot. But just by the Chapter 3 map being really good, it remains an A tier. Now, Chapter 4, I've been kind of dreading getting to this one because I don't know how to rank it, you know? I look back at the Chapter 4 Season 1 map really fondly. I do. But there's also just some weird decisions. Like, what in the world is a random patch of green doing at the top of the map? Like, just that being there takes it down so many points, in my opinion, just because it looks weird. It looks bad. But I do think the Chapter 4 Season 1 map had some really solid POIs on it. Faulty Splits was an incredible drop spot. Slappy Shores, I believe that was what it was called, was really good. The farm POI on this map looked gorgeous and also functioned really well in fights and such. Brutal Bastion, great POI. The snow biome looked gorgeous as well, if we're going to take some graphics into account. The Citadel was an incredible POI. I also landed at Shattered Slabs over 100 times in this season. I landed there so much so that I have this art commissioned. I landed there so much, dude. I love this map, but oh my goodness, if that green patch wasn't there, I feel like this could be top of S tier. But I don't know. It takes it down a little bit. I do think the Chapter 1 map, Season 8 and Season 9, were better, but I don't think it was worse than the Season 7 map. So we're going to leave it there. Now, Season 2, wow. Wow, dude. I am so sad for the loss of Faulty Splits. I really am. But the Mega City biome is like everything I've ever wanted from a Fortnite biome. They have a massive city POI, which functioned great. I wish you could go inside more of the buildings, but it just looked great, you know? The Japan aesthetic on this map just worked for some reason. I don't know why, but it just kind of did. The other POIs as well were great. So good that they're escaping my memory. Naughty Nets, even though it looked weird, was still a good POI in the grand scheme of things. I do think this is an upgrade. Is it better than these two? You know, I think it might be. This map was great. I don't think it's better than Vibin, but I do think it's probably the second best map. You know how I've been glazing this map so far? What in the world were they thinking with this jungle season, bro? I don't understand. The concept, it was good, you know? As much as I loved Shattered Slabs, if they just replaced like a small corner of the map with the jungle biome, I think it could have worked really well. But putting the jungle biome in the center of the map, as I've mentioned previously, I don't really like when they stylize the middle of the map with the biome. It just doesn't look that good to me. But they made it worse. They made the jungle a decline. Like, you had to go down into the ground to get to the jungle, and none of the jungle POIs were that good. And they just didn't flow well with this map. I mean, it's designed to look weird and like jagged because of the rocks coming together in the fracture event, but it still looks not good and doesn't play well either. So because it took up so much of the map, I'm afraid I'm just gonna have to put it in C tier. Like, it dropped from the second best map in Fortnite history down to here. It was such a crazy drop off. And Season 4 doesn't help it too much. They got rid of the Citadel. They kept the jungle as big as it was. They didn't really change anything about that. The heist POIs were cool, but I don't think it's enough to carry this thing back up. If anything, it's barely better than the Season 1 map. I don't know. They just kind of killed it with the Season 3 season. Just the flow of the map was completely ruined by the jungle. Now let's get back into it. Now we're on to the Chapter 5 map. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Chapter 5, but it had nothing to do with the map. The map was still really, really good eventually. Now, the first map that they dropped was this one right here. And I don't know, this map never really did it for me. I mean, I liked some of the POIs, but like, when I was playing this, it kind of just felt like there wasn't really a place that I ever wanted to land on this map. I mean, Fencing Fields was great. Reckless Railways was also a standout POI. But the rest of them just aren't very good. You have Ritzy Riviera, Pleasant Piazza, and Snooty Steps, which, if you ask me, are kind of just all the same POI, just with different names and different spots. The only reason people liked Snooty Steps was because of Peter Griffin being there. The snow biome is too big and too small at the same time. I don't know, it just doesn't really work here. And it also has, in my opinion, the worst POI in Fortnite history, Classy Courts here. I don't know why, I just have always hated that POI. I've hated it so much. But this map, it looks good, but it's just not very good. I'm gonna put it here. No, I'm gonna put it here. slightly better than the starting Chapter 2 map, but it's just not very good if you ask me. I didn't really like the Chapter 5 map very much. Now, to upgrade on that, we have Season 2, the Greek Mythology season. We added Brawler's Battleground, we added Mount Olympus, we added the Underworld, Grim Gate, which were all upgrades, but not by much, if you ask me. I mean, Mount Olympus looked great, but it just didn't feel like it added what I wanted on the map, you know? The Underworld being where it was gets rid of Ritzy Riviera, which was one of the POIs I said looked kind of just the same as the others. But I don't think it was an upgrade that really bumps it up that much. I'm going to put it here, slightly better than the Season 1 map. But Season 3 doesn't really help much either. They just changed the bottom of the map, added more, changed Snooty Steps. Was it like Sandy Steps or something? But Red Line Rig was a cool POI. The desert in general was a cool POI. The shark, or not the shark, whatever the shark was called in Chapter 5, was cool, but it didn't upgrade by much. And I feel like that's a common theme with Chapter 5. It just doesn't feel like what I wanted with the map. And maybe that's just a little bit of my personal opinions on the seasons coming in, because I didn't really like Chapter 5. I'm trying to distance from that, but it doesn't feel like that much of an upgrade if you ask me. I don't know. Now, Season 4, another Marvel season. I do think this is quite a bit better, probably at the bottom of the A tier, but the raft was cool. Definitely better than Pleasant Piazza, because it was, again, the same as the other two POIs. I did think that Doom's Domain was pretty good, but they somehow, some way, made Classy Courts even worse. If you remember this, I'm going to try and see if I can find gameplay, but probably not, because nobody wanted to land there. They made this place even worse. The entire POI was just one statue in like one building. They made my least favorite POI in Fortnite history even worse with this map, and that's kind of disgusting. Doomstat was pretty good. Better than whatever was there before. I don't think Lavish Larry made it that far into the chapter, did it? I don't remember. But Doomstat was pretty cool. I really liked town POIs, and that was one of the things I was talking about during this chapter. Is one of the reasons I didn't like Chapter 5's map that much is because it really lacked the town POIs that I kind of enjoyed. And they got rid of pretty much all of the town POIs that were still left at the beginning with Season 2 and Season 3. And the only real ones left in Season 4 are Doomstat and Reckless Railways. And that kind of just made me sad. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of A tier. Now, after Chapter 5, they're like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's finally bring back the Chapter 1 map. And so they did. Kind of. I don't know. Because this is what they brought back. And if you'll compare them, I'll just put this next to... It's not S tier if you ask me. But if you go up here and look, they made the desert slightly smaller. They made the snow biome incredibly smaller. I don't even know what they were thinking, doing the snow biome like this. And they also didn't include anything at the top right, which, as you'll recall, Wailing Woods is like a really big stain on that side of the map. It just wasn't very good. So, I mean, it was still a good map functionally, but it's kind of just here. If anything, I feel like no, it's slightly better than that. I'm gonna put it here in between Season 5 and Season 4, because I think Season 5 was just better. I don't know. This map, the OG map, felt weird to me, and to a lot of people, it just didn't feel like it hit the same way as it did back in the day. And it's not because of nostalgia. It's because they just changed the map in really weird ways that didn't make sense. Now, into Chapter 6. Here we are. This map right here, Chapter 6, Season 1, is another top 3 map, if you ask me. I don't know where to put it over here. I think it might be better. I think it might be better than Chapter 4 of Season 2. This map was gorgeous, dude! All of the biomes on this map are incredible. They bring back the town POIs that I loved so very much, as you recall. Night Shift Forest was such an interesting gimmick POI. There were a lot of gimmick POIs. Magic Mosses had its own little hidden area if you bring the sprites down there. Same with Night Shift Forest, as I mentioned. I don't know. This map felt really, really cool. I don't know. Canyon Crossing, great POI. It was just incredible. Pump Power, all that. Demon's Domain, or Demon's Dojo. I love this map. Oh, what did I move? This one. That's what I moved. Oops. Now to Season 2. Made me really sad. I look at this map, and I don't feel anything. I feel like it lost the charm that it had. And I don't know why, because they didn't change all that much. They just changed the left side of the map. They added a city POI, but there's already a city POI on the right side of the map with Seaport City. So adding another one just felt kind of weird and random. And you got rid of, like, sort of the most beautiful part of the map with Night Shift Forest. It just made me sad. Going from that to this. And I don't know. Just getting rid of Night Shift Forest alone drops it down by quite a bit, if you ask me. I do think it's a great map still. Better than a lot of Chapter 1, but better than Season X. I'll put it there. But it just made me sad looking at it. It just feels kind of mid. So I'm going to put it in the middle of A tier, because I do think it was a good, foundationally good map. That's why it's an A. But I don't know. It just makes me feel sad. Now, on to Season 3. Season 3, well, was technically Season 3. It was the Star Wars season, and, which one's the Star Wars season? This one. So, I don't know what they were thinking with this season, bro. Like, it was our first mini season. Well, technically second because we had OG, but I don't know. OG feels different. But they put all of the POIs in the corner of the map. One of them literally didn't change, with Shogun Solitude being the Darth Vader Samurai Shogun Solitude, whatever. It was literally the exact same thing. And if anything, it felt like a downgrade from what was already there, because we got rid of Hopeful Heights. We got rid of the POI dedicated to the main character of the Fortnite storyline in favor of a Tatooine POI. Like, seriously? And it never came back. We kept these POIs the rest of the chapter. And if we already had this map here, this is once again a downgrade. I'm thinking it's probably here. I think we just keep going down. We keep slipping until we get to the actual Season 3, which I do think is an upgrade, the Super Season. Supernova Academy, I didn't appreciate it during this season. I kind of just got there during Season 4, but it was there during Season 3, so I'll count my favor towards it during this season. So Supernova Academy becomes a great POI. Utopia City, I do think was a downgrade on Seaport City, sadly. But Demon's Domain was... Oh, never mind. I just remembered. Demon's Domain got rid of my favorite POI on the map other than Night Shift Forest. It got rid of Mass Meadows. Mass Meadows was so good, and it makes me really sad. I do think this map is better than the mini season by quite a bit. So we're going to move it up here. But I don't think it was as good as the Crime Season, because Crime Season still had Mass Meadows. Just on Mass Meadows alone. Because I do think Demon's Domain was just not a very good POI to begin with. It was too vertical. People ended up just not landing there, even though there was a medallion and a free mythic, just because it wasn't a super good POI. I mean, it was cool for the storyline purposes, but it just wasn't that great. I think the best thing that came out of this season by a long shot was Supernova Academy, and I'm super happy to say that it becomes great in season 4. Now, the interesting thing about this, I really, really wanted to go back on my word and include 2 maps for Chapter 6, Season 4, because the end of Season 4 was so drastically different from the beginning, because this is the bug season, right? But the bug season, as it goes on, we defeat the bugs really quickly, and instead we just kind of fix the whole bug problem, and it becomes a whole different POI in itself, or different biome in itself. I don't know. I do think it looks good, which is a plus, because usually the ending of the chapter maps don't look very good, as we've seen over here. But I don't know. I don't think it's up there. I mean, it makes me sad because I loved this season at the time, but I do think it's slightly better than Super Season. No, it's not. I don't know. I think it's worse. I liked OXRHQ, but everything that was added just kind of felt like a downgrade, once again. So I don't know. We'll leave it there, and we'll go on to some bonus maps. So after Chapter 6, we once again had an OG season, and this time it was Chapter 2 OG. I don't really know. I do think it's probably on par with Chapter 2 Season 2 if I can find it. I remember putting it somewhere high, but not too high. Where is it? Because that's Season 3. I put it here. Okay. I think it's probably on par, you know. The Snoop Dogg agency is the exact same, you know. The Ice Spice Shark, it's the exact same. It's kind of just the exact same map with a little bit of Juice World on the edge of the map. I think I accidentally mixed up the two. Oops. Whatever. We'll pretend this is the remixed map. The Eminem one was kind of just the exact same, just with a little bit of branding. I do think, just by association of it being unique and interesting, it's slightly better than the Season 2 map, but it's the exact same, you know. And as I said, we're going to be going to some bonus maps before we get to Chapter 7. So first off, we have Venture, the first ever reload map. And if you ask me, I really don't think it's possible to have a better reload map. It's kind of just like the perfect reload map, and I don't want them to ever get rid of it. Every time I log on to play Reload, I want to play Venture. So I'm going to put it up here. I think it is in the range of these maps here, because it is just like the top hits of Chapter 1. It is falling into one of the pitfalls of Chapter 2 and early Chapter 1, where it's kind of just a lot of grass. But I don't think it matters on a map this small. It's kind of themed like that, so I understand it. But all the POIs on it are incredible. And they picked like the best POIs to come into here, and it's great. I love playing this map. Now, second, we have the Oasis reload map. And these reload maps, from this point on, they kind of just like start reaching a little bit with the concepts. The whole desert map, it's fine. It's a small map, I get it. But there's like 2 places on this map that I actually want to land, you know. I want to land at Adobe Abodes, and I want to land at Paradise Palms, and occasionally I want to land at that POI at the bottom right of the map that's kind of mid, so I don't even remember the name of it. But the rest of it is just so bland and just the same thing that I don't care, you know? It's just boring. And for that reason, I'm going to put it at the bottom of B tier because there's literally like 2 POIs that I want to land at. I think it's you know, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. I won't think about it too much. But the third POI, I literally just face palmed, is the Squid Grounds map. I think I went out of order. It's fine. This map is like legitimately a slap in the face. It's going to the bottom, like without a doubt. It's like by far the worst map we've ever had. Like it flows fine, I guess, but let me just read some of these names off for you. I'm going to put it on the screen. We have the main POI that this map has to its name is called Square Meals. Now, I have watched all of Squid Game, right? What in the world is this in reference to? I don't understand. This map has 2 POIs that are called meals, Square Meals and Manager's Meals. What does that mean? Like, these names don't make any sense. We also have Player's Power, which I get kind of. Affluent Arrivals is not a good name for a POI. Phony Crossroads, I get is a play on Coney Crossroads. But the names themselves are so bad that I just have to put this map at the bottom just based on the names, and like the POIs themselves are also just boring. The best thing this map has is the free mythic, but that free mythic is good because it's a mythic, not because it's a part of the map. So I'm leaving this at the bottom, and I'm not apologizing for it. Another map that's going down there I didn't realize I had on here was the Party Royale map. Like, what can I say about the Party Royale map? You know. But the map that I did skip, though, was the Slurp Rush map. It's another one where it's kind of just the same thing as Oasis. It's fine, I guess. Slurpy Swamp is good. Steamy Stacks is good. Logjam is good. So there's more that I want to land at than Oasis, but it's still not a great map. Having a whole map based on a swamp is just kind of sad and depressing, you know? I don't really know why they chose to do this biome out of anything. I don't know. It doesn't hit very hard. Next up we have where's the next reload map? We have the current reload map, the one based on the chapter 7 map. And I kind of got this with chapter 7 season 1 fatigue, so I'm going to try and like distance myself from that. It's kind of the same thing as what we already had in the game at the time. So looking past that is kind of difficult. Like, the concept is great. I wanted an entire city to be a map for like actual years. You don't understand. When Mega City came out, I wanted like the biggest city possible. So a whole map based on that is cool, but in execution, it feels like I'm going to the same place. Like, I could land on the left side of the map and then land on the right side of the map the next game, and I'd be like, whoa, I'm getting deja vu. It looks the exact same. So I'm putting this in C tier because I don't have enough maps in C tier. But I think that map it's worse than the jungle. I'll put it there. I'm actually going to move these down a bit too, to here. And I'll put the swamp over here. Nope, wrong way around. I'll put this over here. And I believe we have one final reload map to go. It is the, whatever they call the Halloween map. It's okay. I do think it's better than these 3 reload maps, but it's just because it's unique, you know? There's not really like a Halloween biome that we've ever had on the Fortnite map, so I kind of enjoy that. I do think the knockoff Underworld POI was very interesting to include, but I also love all of the inclusions of the town POIs. As you know, I love myself a good town POI, but the main issue that it has is the lack of a good central POI. If you look at Venture if you look at Oasis, if you look at Slurp Rush, all those have a good central POI that people want to land at, and that's highly contested so people can actually fight over it. This map has whatever they call the Anvil Square knockoff, and it's not very big. It's not very good. Nobody wants to land there. So the fights on this map were very like spread out instead of like centralized, and I think it loses points on that. But I do think it's better than these. I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier, just cause. And yeah, that's all of the reload maps. So let's continue with some Blitz maps. Like I said, we're focusing on the final version of these maps. So next up we have the final version of whatever in the world they were doing to the Blitz map. And this is a real shame, because if you look up at the top, I have this version, this map, but bigger, in S tier. But whatever they did with the Chapter 4 updates to the Blitz map, killed it. Killed it so bad that this mode lost so much engagement that they stopped updating it. This map was so horrible that they stopped updating Blitz entirely. They got rid of medallions because nobody was playing it. And that makes me really, really sad, because it started off really good, and I love Chapter 4. As you can see, my third best map is a Chapter 4 map. But for some reason, it just doesn't blend well here, and I'm sad to say it's probably a D tier map. You know what? I'm going to rearrange this as well. I'm putting this here and this here, just because these two are by far the worst. They're like offensive that they even happen, so it's devastating. The next Blitz map that we have is the Stark Industries Blitz map. It's okay, man. Like, I know people on the internet love Stark Industries, but it's just kind of boring, you know? It's kind of all the same thing, and I never really liked Stark Industries to begin with. As you can see, it's at the lower end of the A tier. I do think it's better than this, but because I don't know if I can like willingly put it here. It just feels bad to put it in the A tier. So I'm going to put it down here. Worse than Chapter 5, yeah. I'll put it down here. Down here. I do think this version of Stark Industries is better than the one that they had on the Chapter 2 map. Just, it feels more fleshed out in the Blitz map, but I also don't think it's good. So, that's where it's staying. Next up we have whatever in the world they were doing with the Stranger Things map. Like, I'm not gonna let my feelings of the ending of Stranger Things get in the way. We're looking at the maps. As I said, I love town POIs as well. But 3 town POIs that look exactly the same, and then a farm POI? Like, this was like hilariously bad. If anything, it might be worse than the offensive, like, Chapter 4 Asteria Awaken map. Because it was just so uninspired and boring. And this was another dull period of Blitz that got people to stop playing because the map was just so boring. And then Chapter 7, we got this extra little bonus Blitz map. And thankfully, it was so much better than these. All the Blitz maps have been kind of mid so far. But the Chapter 7 one, it feels nice to play, you know? I'm gonna move it up here. I think it's better than the Stark Industries. We'll put it there. It's giving hopeful. It's giving it can be better. But these are just gone. Horrible. So we're on the final stretch here. After Chapter 6, we had the Simpsons mini-season, which everybody expected to be horrible, including myself, because the last mini-season was horrible. But we're judging maps. But like this season, the map turned out pretty darn good. It felt really well varied. Even though it was mostly grass, pretty much entirely grass, it still flowed well. It didn't feel like it was repetitive. Maybe it was just because it was a small map. I really liked this map. I think it's probably up here. Better than that one, but I think it stops there. I think it stops there. It was a good map, but just because of the lack of variety, I guess, I can't see myself moving it up more than that. Now, final stretch here. We are at present day chapter 7. Chapter 7, season 1. This map was pretty darn good to set a standard. However, it had a lot of like boring parts, you know? Along with the big 3 that we loved, it had some really dull sections as well. So on the left side of the map, they had Bumpy Bay, which I think like 2 people landed at ever. We have 4 Fields, which is also kind of terrible. We have Latte Landing. It's kind of mid. Tip Top Terrace, still kind of mid. But what this map does have, it has the big 3. The big 3 that are going to carry this chapter, mark my words. They have Wonky Land, one of the best POIs ever added to Fortnite. It has Battlewood Boulevard, which is, if you ask me, maybe it could turn out to be a better version of Tilted Towers. It just looks gorgeous. It flows well. It looks great. It feels fun to play. And my favorite POI on the Chapter 7 map, second, is Wonky Land. But first is Sandy Strip. That POI is dang good, bro. So I'm going to have to put it up there high. But I'm also going to keep it low in the highness, you know? I do look at it better than Chapter 6, Season 2. But I also think it has a lot of low sections. You know? I think that's a good spot for it. But today, we have the Chapter 7 Season 2 map. This may be controversial. It really might be. But this map, to me, is top 1 or top 2 in Fortnite history, dude. I might have to put it here just because I want Vibin to be number 1 just for clickbait. Kind of, I really like that map, so I don't know. But Chapter 7, Season 2, dude, as I was saying earlier with Chapter 3, this map feels like home to me. Maybe it's because the 7 are finally back, and it just feels good to be back. I don't know. It kept the big 3 that I've loved in Chapter 2, or Chapter 7, Season 1. I don't know why I said Chapter 2. It kept the big 3. It got rid of Bumpy Bay in favor of Squibbly Shores, which is a dang good POI, by the way. We got the Frigid Fortress POI at the top of the map, which got rid of Clausy Lodge that nobody cared about. It's fine, whatever. And I don't know. It just feels good. Something about it is just like the perfect map. I really don't know how Season 3, Season 4 is going to improve upon this map because it just feels great, dude. The only reason it's not number 1 is because Chapter 3, Season 3 feels more like home to me and just feels like the perfect map in Fortnite history. And I think Chapter 7, Season 2 is really close. So I'm hopeful that Season 3 one-ups it and we get better. But that was the video. Hope you enjoyed. This is the first video that I'm uploading on my channel. I stream occasionally. A lot of the times it's going to be on Twitch and YouTube, but we'll see what I do. Hopefully you enjoyed. This video took a lot of time for me to record, as you can guess from how long you've watched it. So consider liking and subscribing, sharing it with your best friend. I don't know. But thank you for watching. If you agree with me, feel free to let me know. If you disagree with me, feel free to let me know. And what is your personal favorite Fortnite map in history? Let me know in the comments below. Did I rank your favorite map at number 1? Did I rank your favorite map at number 0? Is your favorite map Squid Grounds? I sure hope not. But let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.